On Tuesday, Missouri Governor Mike Parson announced a pardon for Mark and Patricia McCloskey. Now, you might remember the McCloskeys as the people standing in their yard with pointing weapons at protesters. Black Lives Matter protesters, to be precise. So now they made national headlines, and they even got in trouble. But here comes Governor Parsons making the decision and announcing that he is going to pardon them after they had pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges over pointing weapons at peaceful protesters. So now, Mr. Parson, you're not going to be surprised, is a Republican and had promised to pardon the couple in an interview with KFTK last year, and so he had actually done that. I'm sure, of course, that will play extremely well with the vicious Republican base that thinks it's perfectly fine to aim weapons at protesters if they come into your neighborhood. That's essentially it. Oh, great. In fact, Mr. McCloskey had agreed with prosecutors earlier this year that he had, in fact, on purpose, put those protesters in danger, saying, quote, "That's what the guns were there for. And I'd do it again. Anytime the mob approaches me. Oh, the mob, it's the mob, it's the mob." They were passing by your house. They didn't give a damn about you to protest the Democratic mayor. Who do you think you are? What are you, Sheriff Mayo? Come on, man. But here's the thing. The protesters had a really good reason to be there, of course. It turns out the protesters were actually in more danger than the McCloskeys ever would be. The mayor, Ms. Cruson, had went on Facebook Live and had read out the names and addresses of people who had said the police should be defunded. That doesn't mean abolishing the police. That simply means redistributing some of the funding from police to community programs, okay, in order to, of course, reduce crime and therefore reduce the need for police. Nonetheless, she had read those names out, essentially doxing people. And this is right after, of course, the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. So now you dox people, what happens? Well, you put them in danger, you put them at risk of getting contacted, confronted by unhinged nut jobs and police so that they would, go to their house. So instead, these protesters went to the mayor's house. And then these people come out as they're walking by, the McCloskeys do, and just start pointing weapons at them. And not even that well. I mean, there was some serious danger of them not only shooting protesters, but also shooting themselves. Like in the foot. Ridiculous. But of course, there's been a lot of excuses for the McCloskeys. Oh, they broke a gate. The protesters did. Okay, so let's just aim guns at them. Really? No, the whole thing with the McCloskeys is there's a bunch of black people in my gated neighborhood. Let's get the rabble out of my nice gated community. How dare you even be here? How dare you even be here? That's the situation. Now, Cori Bush comes in. Cori Bush is from Missouri. And she actually took part. She was one of the protesters threatened by the McCloskeys. And so she came off from her, her win on getting an extension on the eviction moratorium by sleeping on the Capitol steps to go and talk to CNN about this. And she's going to unload on the McCloskeys and this decision. Take a look.
It is absolutely unbelievable. There are other people that there are pardons that we have been asking for, pardons that actually should happen in Missouri, and that was not one. That was not one. They stood there, they pointed their guns, totally reckless, to a group of nonviolent protesters walking down a street that had no clue that they lived there, didn't care that they lived there, didn't know them, didn't want to know them. Mark McCloskey is an absolute liar. He has spat on my name, and because of that, his day will come. You will not be successful in all that you're trying to do when you are hurting the very people that are out trying to save lives. Nothing good comes from that. He can try it, but I will not stand by and allow him or our governor to hurt the very people that are doing the work that they should be doing. So there are other people, Governor Parson, that you should be looking at.
100%. So now I love this. The response to this, by the way, was a bunch of unhinged conservatives saying, "Oh my God, Cori Bush, how dare you threaten the McCloskeys after you trespass on their yard?" Ironic, right? So now, when you look at the context, Mark McCloskey is running for political office. He's trying to replace Senator Roy Blunt. And that's what she's talking about. His day is going to come where he's not going to be successful, meaning he's not going to get political office on election day, hopefully being defeated by the community that he apparently despises. Now, remember, of course, the mob that the people that he says the mob, right, or that are the mob, that's his fellow citizens and might even be his constituents. And I just wanted to point out that context there because, again, here you have conservatives freaking out and accusing a black woman, a strong black woman, who is speaking out on behalf of her community and on behalf of activists who have yet to be pardoned, as she pointed out. She's speaking on behalf of those people, and they're like, "No, scary black woman, mob. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here." Look, Cori is right. There are much better people to pardon, but I'm guessing, of course, the governor, Mr. Parsons, only wanted to score some political points with hardcore conservatives. He didn't give a damn about the people that are suffering in Minneapolis. He only cares about it when it gets so bad. And this is where, generally you see a lot of conservatives, and also you see some Democrats as well, that they only tend to pay attention to the black community when conditions, material conditions, and economic conditions and policing conditions get so bad that it erupts into first marches, protests, and then, unfortunately, violence. Because they're not being heard or served in any other way by their representatives. Now, the people in those gated communities where the McCloskeys live, they have no idea what the average person goes through. They have no idea. Much less the average black person, what they have to deal with on an everyday basis. And of course, they don't actually care. Police brutality, it happens. Economic stagnation, of course. Inability to have good paying jobs, to get those good paying jobs and have a real chance at the American dream. And it's because of racist asshats like the McCloskeys. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.